It's been a while. I mean,
We're here.
get your shit back together, or my shit back together. Okay, got the notes out. Do 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 do. Amy's gonna be winging some stuff. Linda already knows our names, right?
Yeah, I got you.
Amy, did you see our streaming background? It's totally like, it's been this way for years and years, but it's like Muppet Show curtain, like velvet curtain
No,
stage.
oh,
I think it's
that's
actually
cool.
where I took it from.
Oh, fun.
Yeah.
That's fun.
It was the idea at the time. So that's just kind of funny that you ended up here.
Yeah.
Oh, I should probably open Twitch
Yeah.
and do the
Maybe.
verification that other people can hear us.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Can you guys?
It's funny about the Muppet thing actually because
Oh yeah, that definitely. Sorry, that echo was my fault. That was me.
oh, no, it's
No,
fine.
it wasn't. No, it wasn't. That was me unmuting our Twitch page live to make sure all three of our voices could be heard there because I don't
Yeah.
trust OBS.
You shouldn't. You shouldn't.
Never.
But yeah, no, the funny thing about the Muppet thing is that I made all those little crochet critters, and everybody at the fair that I just went to was like, they're so cute, and I'm like, I feel like I should put them on sticks and just have them like dancing around and singing because they look like Muppets, little fruit Muppets that the Swedish chef has.
I was
Yay.
terrorizing part-time gamers by just randomly, like, they're talking, and I'm just like...
It's a great way to practice. It's a good way to practice monitor work.
My little critters are up here.
Oh, I have a friend who makes those. I love them. Those little
Yeah.
puppets. Those are awesome.
I have this one and the green one.
Cool. Well, you can see my little crocheted Martians in the background. They're little gifty mailbag things.
Yes, I have a frog. I have a frog with pants somewhere in my stash.
Oh, that's right. You got frogs.
Yes,
I didn't make
last year
frogs.
you gave me one. No,
I did not make frogs this year. I was like, nope, I'm making puppets and doing a puppet show. But that's it.
Yep. Okay. Well, no theme for our live viewers, but there's like 2. So they aren't gonna miss it. Everybody can catch it in the podcast. I suppose
One of them is my husband, apparently.
Hi, Chuck. I don't know if Amy's ever heard our theme. I should probably give you access.
I did. I actually listened to last week's episode today.
Oh, okay. Homework.
I did my homework.
Yeah, I actually just posted the episode that Linda and Ray did when I was gone earlier today, like a couple hours ago.
Yeah. We tried. We were lucky we had someone that was able to be like live with us because they were like, "Can't hear you," and I was like, "God, son of a."
Well, that and I'm an idiot. I started editing it and then I decided, oh wait, I should really get this camera issue fixed. Which, by the way, turns out to not be a camera issue at all. But I think I have ADHD too. But I like started the editing and I was like, okay, and I got the stuff where it was only Ray speaking because your voice was not there off, and I was ready to throw the theme in. And I went, I should make an appointment with the Apple Store. And I did, and I packed up the computer, and I took it to Charlotte, and then, like, it's been there until today. Like, I probably should have published first. And it turns out that camera thing, Linda knows what I'm talking about. There's been this little, like, line, right, of blank space. And I was in the store, and we could not replicate it, and I'm showing them videos, 6 months of videos, like, it's right there, and it's not, like... dirty. It's not. I don't have a ring light. I think they make people look creepy. Like, I'm in a little tiny dark space with one light overhead. I don't have shiny stuff here. I have moved everything around. It is just because the light source is the top of my head, right? So I got home and I finally figured it out, because if I put my, it's there. There it is. If I put my hand over the camera, like on the top of my monitor, it disappears.
Oh, funny.
It's not reflecting off anything. It's just doing, and the Apple geniuses did say like lens flare. It could be lens flare. I'm like, what are you? This isn't a Michael Bay production. What? Like lens flare. I'm like, and he's trying to explain it to me. I'm like, I know what lens flare is. I just don't understand how your fancy camera can let that happen in this situation. So I've got my old license plate because I now have 9 of 12, and I've got it shoved under like my TMS Vegas shit and my Venom mug to just. I've got an awning over my iMac.
It's like a little shade, just like a
Yeah,
little
you need to pull it. Yeah, there you go.
And it makes it go away.
Whereas I look like, I don't know, the light in my office is not good at all, but
Yeah, I got
like
a little reddish.
my
going.
office thing back here is very well lit, but like the rest of me, like I look like I'm in the dark, and that's because of the corner of my office that I record in. So
Well, I keep trying to add nerdy stuff because like I've got some pops,
Mhm.
right, but then I've got my Obama thing, and apparently all the gift wrap for some reason.
I've turned my
But
I've turned my entire like setup around. My desk used to be over there,
Mhm.
so you
Shows
can't
up
see
holding
my
one.
yarn stash anymore, which is over there.
Yeah.
But then
Oh
I've
yeah.
got
I
see
have like
my
a whole
political
wall
art.
of
You can see
stuff
the yarn
to
stash
see.
that's on the table that I'm working with right now, but
Ooh.
So I had this political art I bought when Roe v. Wade got overturned that a friend of mine made, and then I put up this stuff recently. This is a death.
Yeah.
But
From Sandman.
yeah.
Yeah.
That somebody drew for me when I worked in Disney in like 1992.
Cool.
And then there's a Scott Johnson, and then that's not very well seen, but there's a Batwoman up there that's signed by the artist. So I'm trying to make it a little more nerdy, less political, but
Yeah, I have
been
a
trying that
lot.
with my life,
I got a
it's not
lot of
working.
Len. You can see there's a lot of Len Peralta.
I
Len
love
Peralta,
it.
Len Peralta, Len Peralta, and then all this is like Scott and Carter Free Comic Book Day, more Scott stuff.
Yeah, I
Then
gotta do
you
something
can't.
with those.
That one right there, the yellow one that you can just barely not see, that's out of frame, is like the blue shell one that Scott did. And then like the No Way Home posters up there, those are just out of frame, but they're there. They're my friends that are just out of frame. But
All right.
yeah.
Well, I guess we
So
should
all
start
right.
the show.
Anyway, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
So
page-
Amy's new.
Patreon
This
content.
is like
Yeah.
our notes are notes. Pretty conversational, and basically we take turns, kind of taking the lead and keeping the show rolling. Linda's gonna do this week. I'm gonna host next week, and I didn't ask, but I did put in the chart in the spreadsheet. I thought it would be really neat and interesting because you do that read this segment on TMS. We have a quarterly book club show,
Oh, cool.
and ours happens to be our last show this month. So
All
that
right.
could be your first, lead host gig here.
If you want.
Sure.
How should I introduce you? Are you a temp host right now? Or are you how would we guess?
I guess sure.
A girlfriend?
Maybe like a what's the word I'm looking for? Like I'm in a trial period. Like
Okay.
we're-
A trial host.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
And
we'll,
other intro
I'll work with
stuff.
it.
Like, I should have asked you to put that in the notes. Like, it usually says, for a guest, we say, like, write your intro here if you want. Like, what is it you want to be known for? Like, is it peepers? Is it...
This episode is correctly numbered, yes?
Should be?
261? Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah, because we had game in between. Let me see. Yeah, because we had the legacy problem was 259. LARP was 260. This is 261.
Okay, 61. Cool.
Yeah, I did change the numbers when we kept bumping this and bumping this show.
I swear, if I was telling my husband, I was like, we've tried to record this episode like twice, and it just kept getting bumped back. I'm like, I feel like it's a little coist.
Let's see. And rounded nerd. There we go.
Okay. Okay.
Sure.
So,
just make up some crap and say
Sure.
it about me. It's fine.
a tiny, weird, creepy thing. What?
This is
Ember.
Betty. This is Betty
Hi.
Batwings.
Hi, Betty. Cute.
Somebody
I guess-
saw this and was reminded of me and bought it for me many, many years ago.
Aw.
Right? That's adorable. And then she gave it to someone to give to me, and he gave it to somebody else.
Oops.
And I found out about it later, and it had to be rebought. Yeah, that was weird.
Awkward.
Dickhead.
So I guess I'll give it like a moment.
Yeah.
Hello and welcome to episode 261 of Geek Girls, the Geek Girls podcast supported primarily by patrons. You can find us at patreon.com/grills. I'm Linda and I'm joined by my co-host Amber.
Hello.
And our co-host in training, co-host in Potentia, Amy. She is co-owner of Peepers Puppets and a well-rounded nerd.
Hello.
So that's why I have my little puppet pal. Not just being weird for no reason. But so our today's topic is Anne Bonny. And we were saying this, or I was saying this before we started kind of recording, is we've tried to do this episode a couple of times and it kept getting pushed back for various reasons. So I don't know. Coist! So what have you been up to, Amber?
Well, I went to Vegas, baby. And I did a whole week this time. I went for TMS Vegas, but I was helping Brian Ibbett with task mastery things and with lovely contestants like Amy that I had to film. And then we almost got arrested, but that's a story for another show. And
Oops.
yeah, and then I stayed late so Rob and I could this was our first grown-up vacation. Like the first time we've ever gone on a vacation more than like an overnight in Charlotte or something or Asheville. Our kids are big enough that we can just go now and we have enough money to go. So we did that and kind of got to double it with TMS Vegas. And so we stayed a little longer thinking it would be a little more restful. And chill the last couple days, and it wasn't. There were still people there and things to do. But we saw zombie burlesque. That was pretty fun and cool.
That sounds so cool.
It was really funny, and the happiest surprise of all for me, because I was a little worried at the beginning it was just going to be like, just Vegas-y, you know? And it was my first real Vegas show. But having so much time and experience and friends who do burlesque, I was happily surprised that they really honored the traditions of burlesque. It was comedy, it was vaudeville, they had acrobats, like it was a variety show, and the acts were creative. I mean, the makeup was terrible, but they did have like campy stuff going on where this one woman had a prop hand that she was doing an entire dance act with as if it were a disembodied hand.
Please tell me someone danced to Zombie Prostitute by Voltaire.
No.
Aw.
Oh, wait. Yes, they did. They had a whole zombie prostitute act, come to think of it. But I think they used a cover. They didn't use his version. That's why I didn't recognize it right away. He was a dick to me when I met him, so I'm a little off the little terror wagon. But yes, they had a zombie prostitute gig that with the main host as part of it. So anyway, yeah, that was really good. Yeah, just I did a lot of Vegas. Now I'm back to real life. I had to come back, try to keep the plants alive. The boys were pretty decent about taking care of things. And then I left the lids on some seedlings and killed them like my second day back. Oops. Back to event planning for Juneteenth, and yeah, real life stuff. What have you
Re-entry
been up
stuff.
to, Amy?
Oh my. Well, also Vegas. That's really cool. I have a cousin who lives in New Orleans and is a burlesque clown. So yeah, I am acquainted with burlesque as well, and it's fun. It's
Yeah,
it's naughty, but
I got some friends who are in the burlesque scene, and it's hilarious watching them put together costumes.
I found
they're
it way
like,
too late in life. I was like, oh my
They're like,
god,
I
this
have
might
to
be
I have to put together a costume in a way that it'll rip apart real easy, and I'm like, fascinating.
yeah,
It's like the opposite of intuitive sewing clothes, right?
Yeah.
lots of Velcro, I imagine.
Oh, and we should mention we
Like
did get to hang out with Original Grill, the Jen, while we were there.
Yes. And that was awesome. It was awesome to see her. And that I too stayed over, and I remember somebody on the Frog Pants Discord mentioned how like they were like, oh my gosh, you guys are staying even way later. Like this is just too much Vegas. And for me it was more about, oh, there's people here I want to hang out with.
Yeah.
I have a couple of friends who actually live in Vegas, and so after the majority of the Frog Pants folks left, I got to hang out with a bunch of people I know, not a bunch, but a few people I know that live in Vegas. Most recently, last night, just to dovetail off the puppet thing, we got to go to Experimental Puppetry Theater, or XPT.
Neat.
At the Center for Puppetry Arts here in Atlanta. And it was great. They do this every year where the puppeteers sort of apply for, it's like you get a small grant, basically. You make your pitch for a short 10 to 15 minute piece, and then, they either accept it or not. And then you get a small grant for, building materials and producing the show, essentially. And then they put them all together and show them. I think there were about 11 acts altogether. And yeah, it was great. There were some really, really good ones. It's often, I call it puppetry for grown-ups, because if you call it adult puppetry, that makes it sound like it's all just fucking, right? Like it's not that. I mean, some of it is, but it doesn't all have to be, but some of it was just really powerful and moving. There was one piece that was all about self-love, but then there was also this ridiculous piece where it was these bugs were trying to put on theater for their queen, the praying mantis, and this praying mantis puppet was humongous. It was like it was gorgeous. This puppet was absolutely gorgeous. And if they only even wrote that piece just for an excuse to build that puppet, like that's okay with me.
Yeah.
Because it was great. Within the first 10 seconds of the show, this giant praying mantis shows up holding a martini glass, like this giant martini glass in its hand, and then makes this big sweeping gesture and slings, and the martini goes flying, but it's cloth.
Oh,
And
that's
but
neat.
it was really cool. I was like, oh my god, that's awesome. And of course it was really funny, and I was just like, okay, you guys win this piece regardless of how anything else goes, just because you got that bit to land, because that's awesome. And then of course the praying mantis ends up eating most of the bugs, and it's like
right.
it's very, it was a horror show. It was really funny. But yeah, there's poignant pieces and there's funny ones, and there's people submit film pieces as well. A lot of people do stop motion animation and stuff. So it's really cool. We try and hit XPT whenever we can. And one of these years, especially now that my kids are a little bit older, I think Chuck and I might actually submit and do a piece for XPT. We have not been doing so because it requires like a few months worth of planning and rehearsal, and it's a commitment to do.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a thing when I had small kids that no, there's no way we can do that, but now my kids are 16 and 18, so they're pretty self-sufficient. So yeah, we probably will do that one of these years. So yeah, that's the most recent thing. We did that last night.
Well, that's it's interesting actually because I was doing my first market day yesterday because they're on Sundays, and yesterday was the opening weekend, so it's the Smyrna Handmade Market. So I didn't realize that you were in it around Atlanta. So
Yeah.
while I was there, someone mentioned that they were going to the Center for the Puppetry Arts that night. And I guess they were going to XTC or XPT.
Yeah. Yeah,
Wrong
that's
letters.
Cool. They had there were a couple of really cool installation pieces as well. Like there was one where this guy was he was like the manager, and everything was in stark black and white, even down to like his tie looked like it was drawn, And then you walked through, and he very sternly handed you a little time card, and you had to go through and punch your time card at all these different stations in order to get your paycheck at the end. And you walked through, and they had like these little flowers, but they were made of newsprint, and everything was sort of dull and drab, and it was meant to be like an office-y kind of thing. And then you get to the very end, and it says, get your paycheck, and there's just this like little, and again, everything's in black and white, this black drape with like little crumpled up pieces of newsprint or book paper and whatnot. And so I just kind of lean over, and I saw the sign that said "Get your paycheck," and then all of a sudden, I'm sorry, I forgot to mention there were also like these like newsprint flowers up against the backdrop. And all of a sudden, this giant flower starts moving, and I screamed. I was like, And then of course I laughed because there was a puppeteer there, and like holding out its hand, wanting my time card, and then it gave me the little my paycheck, which was essentially it was really neat. But I was like, I was not expecting that. So yeah, and meanwhile, my husband and my daughter were in the next room doing the watching the film of the other installation piece. And my husband leaned over and said, "Your mom's loud." So yeah, good times.
So for me, like I said, I was doing my first market day, so I had been crocheting as many plushies as I could before that, and I did pretty well actually. So that was a good start to the season. I'll go monthly to the handmade market, but next is MomoCon, so I have to get all of my nerdy stuff up and ready to go.
Is that a sheep?
No, it's a Flareon.
I was gonna say no, it's Flareon. I was like, I could definitely tell it was
Yeah. Wait. Waiting.
Having a problem.
But yeah, I noticed that in the background.
Hold on.
Holding.
Oh my god.
Okay.
Were we not recording or something?
Hell yeah. Oh my god. Okay, sorry. I went to go ahead and throw in the bumper, it's so fluffy I could die.
Yeah.
And I hit the Geek Girls theme by mistake.
Oh no.
I hit it again to try and shut it off, and again to try and shut it off. So it was overplaying in this raucous rock and roll, like Mike TV might have done that on purpose, punk rock version of our theme. So I'm sorry to those of you here live that just got to, hopefully you didn't have headphones on. I like tore the plug out, but the software kept going, and I don't know where it's open. So, okay. Flareon.
Flareon. And he looks great. I
Okay.
never want to do another Flareon again. There's so much fluff. It took me a week to do the fluff alone.
What is the fluff made of? Because it's really impressive.
So what you do is you take regular yarn and you hook it in like a latch hook style until you have as much as you want, and then you brush it.
Oh.
So you just have to brush it until it does this, which takes a while. But what took the most time was his tail, because that's all. And it's so soft. But I also, like, by day, like, 3, I was like, I am so done with this. Like, I have the right color, because it's hard to tell, but he's actually, like, more orange than he looks back here. I have the right colors to make a shiny one, because I have 2 Eevees. I have a regular Eevee and a shiny Eevee to take to MomoCon too. And I was like, oh, maybe I'll have enough time to make a regular and a shiny of each of the evolutions. And I was like, I never want to crochet a Flareon ever again.
I know, when we were having our
You're
production
adorable,
meeting,
but no.
she was there combing and coloring during the production meeting. And the price is going up with the time, the hours.
Wow.
The longer I have to brush you, the more your price is going up. I have an entire bag because when you brush out yarn, some comes out.
Sure, yeah.
So I have an entire like bag of extra fluff now, which is great. I'll use it for more plushies. But I'm also like, I'm trying
like a cotton candy machine and like because that's what that looks like. It looks like cotton candy.
I'm just like, I'm trying, because, and maybe this is just a weird thing that I do, but like when I'm crocheting something, I try to put good energy into it. I'm a big proponent of like karma, and like, you know, if you put out good energy, you'll get back good energy. But I was like, whoever gets this doll is just, it's gonna be full of spite. I love you to pieces, but you're full of spite.
But that's a good selling point for it. Is like, hey, the flames. Yeah. On the back of its tail. But no, like put all of your anger and frustration and spite into Flareon's tail, and he'll take care of it for you.
And it'll just waft away, I guess.
Right. Yeah.
So now that he's finally done, I've moved on to the Jolteon, which is much easier. There's no fluff. None of the other Eevees have fluff. It's just that one. And I was just like, oh my god!
And now you know.
Now I know. But
the more you know.
Yeah. If you're wondering how much energy goes into making the nice fluffy crochet things, that's what it is. It's just a smidgen of cursing.
No, I just imagine someone trying to commission it, and you're like, "Are you sure?
Are you sure that's what you want? Are you sure?" Go all Aquillow on you and put the bad energy into it.
Yeah. Oh, I hear that, because like we mentioned before the show got started, I did a puppet show as like the lead-in for TMS Live, and we did like puppet versions of Brian and Scott. And the Brian puppet, no problem, easy peasy, just, you know, drew on his facial hair with a Sharpie, no problem. That Scott puppet was gonna be the death of me. Like, I could not get anything. He just kept coming out looking like an old man. And the more you ever work with something, and like the more it like doesn't look right at all, and the more you try to fix it, the more you're just like, I hate this. I hate it, and I don't want. And so I ended up just throwing it out and starting anew 3 days before we left for Vegas.
Oh my gosh, it was so good though.
I'm really happy with the end result, but oh no, you didn't see like the one that I threw. I didn't throw it away. I still have the parts, but like, yeah, I kept it for parts. That sounds really gruesome, doesn't it?
That's
like,
so on point with this show. You have no idea.
I literally took something out of my my selling bin like last night, and I was like, I've had this for 2 years and it has not sold, and I took it apart.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, all right, time to recycle the yarn into something that will sell. So
Right.
it's just what you have to do.
Yep. Sometimes you have to kill your babies. It's true.
I am currently reading How to Be a Tutor, someone from the 1500s, not a teacher, by Ruth Goodman. It's a delightful book. Ruth Goodman does a lot of historic living history shows on like the BBC, but you can find them all on YouTube. She's done, like Edwardian Farm, Victorian Farm, like all these farm shows, and she's basically a historian that like goes into what life was like for normal folks, because we know a lot about the upper echelons, but a lot of the things that normal folks got up to kind of gotten lost to history. So she's an expert in that. So she's got 2 books actually, How to Be a Tutor, which I'm currently reading. It's like a morning to evening day of a normal like 15th century person, 14th century, 1500s person. But she also
You
has,
could have
which I
said
just
either, and I wouldn't have known.
yeah. She also has How to Be a Victorian, which is the next one I'm gonna read because I just bought it, and it's again beginning of the day to end of the day of like a normal Victorian like middle class, like lower to middle class person, and I'm like,
Cool.
this sounds like it's going to be fun.
That sounds interesting.
Yes.
I have a How to Be Canadian book. It's really funny, but
and then I'm attempting to grow some plants. They have plants that you can buy, I think, from Target for like $1. They come in a little cup, and you like the seeds are in there in a little growth medium, and you're supposed to like you wet the growth medium and it puffs up, and then you put the seeds in there. So they've been growing, I hope, for about a week. There's the lavender and daisies. The daisies can sprout anywhere between 7 to 21 days. So I've started just staring at it to be like, are you sprouting yet? But the lavender takes like 4 to 6 weeks.
Oh, wow.
So I'm just like, they're over there in the window with my little spray bottle of water. Every time that it gets dry, I'm just like, Liv, have water. I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah,
Look,
same.
It'll be fine.
I'm not good at plants at all. At all.
I'm trying though, so we'll see if they survive. I've been told by friends though that if they don't survive, they were $1 at Target, so don't worry about it.
Exactly.
That's true.
Anyway, so now that we're caught up, we'll get into our discussion topic, which is Anne Bonny. So, quick overview. Anne Bonny was born March 8th, 1697, and disappeared April of 1721. So, and there's different ways to spell her name because spelling was not standardized. But she was an Irish pirate that operated in the Caribbean, and female pirate. Was contemporaries with Mary Read, also another female pirate. They were born in Ireland, or she was born in Ireland and moved to London around 1700-ish. And then she married a sailor and assumed his last name and moved with him to Nassau, which Nassau in the Bahamas, if you don't know, was where pirates went to just hang out. That was like their place, and everybody knew that Nassau was the place of pirates. She met Calico Jack there, who was an actual person. Because I've known a couple people that were like, I thought that was a made up person. No, he was real. And She became his partner and lover. I don't know what happened to her husband. Maybe he didn't care. Maybe she didn't care. I don't know. And they were captured in, I think it was, yeah, it says they're captured in October of 1720. But she was captured with Calico Jack and Mary Read. They were all sentenced to death, but Bonny and Reed pled their bellies, which meant that they said they were pregnant. And of course, clutch pearls, you cannot hang a pregnant woman. So their deaths were stayed. Apparently, Mary Read died of fever in jail. So,
Maybe.
like, no idea if she was actually pregnant or not. Although it says that it's likely due to complications from the pregnancy that she died. But nobody knows what happened to Anne Bonny.
There was a fascinating, and I can't find the link. There was a YouTube video that I came across where they dug and did research into the history, and it was like really profoundly disappointing, actually. A lot of stuff they found about Anne Bonny, because the references are, I mean, sparse from back then. And there was this book that was purported to be a history of all these pirates during that time, that most of it was made up. Some of it had bits of truth in it. And then there's part where the spellings come in, because they're trying to find like actual death records and marriage records and you know, visits to the doctor, and find the cemetery plot, and there's all these different spellings. And then she was supposed to be this like her and Mary Read were lovers, and then they were all with the famous pirate, and then none of them were. And these descriptions of her that don't match this red-haired Irish fireball that has gone down in history that we sing songs about, you know. The actual history of it unwound is like, wow, almost none of that. There was someone who was condemned and then went to jail instead because she said she was pregnant, but then the disappearance was interesting, and it looks, the most detail they could discern was, it did seem that the powers that be eventually probably just said and snuck her out, like, we're gonna have mercy on this situation, and snuck her out, and she went off and had this kid and lived her life, because the records they found that did match up with something else, with the burial plot that did exist, was much later.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I've heard of this same history. When I got into God, come on, brain. The Taika Waititi.
Oh, Our Flag Means Death.
Our Flag Means Death. Like, I got super into that for a little bit, and I was like, well, let me look up the actual history of Blackbeard, and this like popped up, and I was like, oh, all of this is made up. Like, a lot of it's made up because he's in there, and I
found it. Sorry.
So things from the books from the 1700s, their names are fantastic. I would like to read to you the entire title of this book.
Oh, please do.
A General History of the Pirates, from their first rise and settlement in the island of Providence to the present time, with the remarkable action and adventures of the two female pirates, Mary Read and Anne Bonny. And then it says, contained in the following chapters, and it lists all the chapters. To which is added a short abstract of the statute and civil law in relation to piracy. That is the full title.
That's a heck of a mouthful when you're.
Which is why
he needed a literary agent.
Which is why it's been shortened to A General History of Pirates, because it's like, that's too much. It's too much, sir.
Right.
But yeah, like, a lot of his stories, Mr. Johnson, by Captain Johnson, a lot of them are made up.
I imagine it's kind of hard to get an accurate, like, something really verifiable about
Yeah.
that time period and pirates in particular, because I mean, you
They're
know,
trying not to get caught. That's
right,
the whole point.
and part of that is you know, not to say, I mean, of course, everything in The Princess Bride is completely true, obviously. But you know, I mean, seriously, like that, I realize it's a fantastical, silly movie, but it's kind of true that a lot of that persona of what we think of as a pirate, and a lot of that had to do with fear, right? Because if they got boarded or something by a British naval ship, they're well outgunned and outmanned, you
Mhm.
know, and so they had to rely on some you know, sort of mythical and larger than life persona to instill fear in people, I would imagine, and
Yeah,
so that's
and it
kind of how some of that probably spread, I would think.
it is, and a lot more people survived pirate raids than people thought, mostly because a lot of the ships that got raided, they would be offered a space on the pirate. They would be, you say you can turn to piracy, which at that time, again, I went super in. I get these. I get onto tangents and then I just dive into them.
And the whole
Um,
golden age of piracy
the golden
stuff.
age of piracy
Yeah.
thing at that time, if you were working on like a merchant ship, it sucked. Like it sucked a lot, and like you didn't get paid well. You got like abused by the people in power above you. So if you got raided by a pirate ship and they're like, "Hey, you get pretty much a same cut of the bounty as everybody else. You just gotta come." And it was actually a lot better to work on a pirate ship than it was on a regular merchant ship.
Sure.
And yeah, and a lot of what the stories and stuff, either the pirates like came up with it themselves and passed it off, or it was just people coming up, the gentry coming up with these fantastical stories of what they thought was going on. And that's actually part, like, Blackbeard was not a great person. Blackbeard was kind of an asshole, but like what got him killed was kind of his persona, because people were so scared of him that they were like, we got to get rid of this guy, even
Mhm.
though his he was just kind of a dick. Like that was like the worst thing, was he was just kind of a dick. And they were like, oh, but he's done all these things, he's killed all these people, and it's like, no, not
Mhm.
really, but
Right. It's kinda like that scene in Braveheart, right, where they all the myth around William Wallace has grown and grown and grown to where, you know, he shoots fireballs from his arse, you know? Um, but, yeah, I mean, I imagine that that's a lot of the reason why we don't have any real good history, like, solid history of these people's lives, because a lot of it is folklore and exaggeration, and you know, it's just passed down from
Yeah, and the people that win write the history, right? I mean, just
Mhm.
like
Mhm.
the other books that Linda's reading. And I mean, this whole it blew up the whole golden age of piracy because things were so bad in the cities. Like London, and they were just overcrowded, and their funds to help, like, people would go to the city trying to basically get some kind of assistance, but their coffers were empty. The government couldn't help them either. And people like Anne Bonny, I mean, it's women had even more limited options. Like men would, it would take a 7-year apprenticeship to even get a job to make something, but in the meantime, what the hell? But women could go like service those guys, and why would you not jump on the first pirate ship to like at least know who you're dealing with and expand your horizons and travel? And that seems, kind of to be what happened.
Well, and
yeah, well,
it's also funny because we talk about the golden age of piracy. A lot of these pirates had very short careers, like super
mhm.
Yeah.
short. Like, um, again, Blackbeard had a career of like a year, maybe two, and it's the same with Anne Bonny. Like, she moved to Nassau in 1718, and then she got caught in 1720.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's a very short career.
Right. Yeah. And yet we have all this
like
mythology
story.
around her. Yeah.
Like, and so I was looking at, like, what's written down for her early life, and you have to take it all with a grain of salt, because, like, it's all coming from a general history of pirates,
Mm-hmm.
which is half to mostly made up. And so it's like, oh, she was an illegitimate daughter, and she moved with her father to London, and she was raised as a boy. He called her Andy instead of Annie, and I'm like, I don't know how much of this is true.
Oh yeah, there was a lot of that stuff that later was like, that's probably not what happened at all, because people did look at birth records around the time, at least where she came from in Cork.
Yeah.
Before Cork seemed to be legit, because they found some birth records, but like a lot of that stuff is just, it's romantic, right? To make all that up, like that there was the fact we do know that they were sentenced to death, and that there were women that did live on a ship, and she did marry a pirate, Calico Jack, who had this big name, and who knows what went on with Rackham, because that was chaos. But it's a romantic thing to, like, a pirate queen, like that there were any women at all. You're gonna grab onto that and run and make stories with. I did put in our note links, and I'll put it on our when I post the show in our notes. There's like a YouTube kids zone, kids singing like "And Bonny was a pirate queen."
Oh yeah, I first learned about Anne Bonny when I ate at the Pirate House in Savannah, Georgia, which, if you've never been there, it's pretty good. They have pretty good fried chicken and whatnot. But the fun part of the Pirate House is, if you have kids, that you can do a little tour, and it's literally a house where they used to smuggle rum and booze through, and you can go and see where those tunnels were and stuff like that. And the servers and the hosts and whatnot there had stories about Anne Bonny and Mary Read, and so that was when I first even heard of her. And again, this is for kids, and so it sounds fun and fantastical, and that's what it all is. And you're right, like her early life reads like an episode of Real Housewives or something.
Yeah.
It's very
How could she possibly have turned out this way? This is stories they make up about women today still.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. And again, speaking of Pirate Queen, we were talking about this before episode started. My favorite Pirate Queen lived 200 years before Anne Bonny, Grace O'Malley. Another Irish pirate. A lot of Irish women pirates. But she was cool because she had she has a whole, like, we could do a whole episode on her, of like her shenanigans, because like she had a husband, the husband got killed by a rival clan, she went and took back the castle and then turned to piracy and then met Queen Elizabeth I. I'm surprised. I mean, I'm sure there's a movie somewhere, but I'm surprised they haven't done like a modern movie of Grace O'Malley.
I feel like we should have covered her instead of Anne Bonny, and maybe we wouldn't have been cursed, because there's actually history there where she got this lordship and stuff, and stuff is named. There's actually history enough there because she was given a lordship or something. That it's not just all made up, as Anne Bonny's story turned out to be when I dug in.
Yeah, because it's like, I mean, we don't even know if the claims that they dressed as men are true either. And they could have been, because, Mary Read and Anne Bonny, they're kind of like, they go hand in hand because they sailed on together for a while. But it's like, it's claimed that
but they have those like drawings, like the etchings that were done of them, and there's like
wearing men's clothing and
but
being
with a tit out,
pirates.
like...
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like, they wouldn't do that. It's just, that's uncomfortable.
This armor has no practical value.
Yeah.
Right.
I
Oh, man.
just don't know.
Yeah,
uh,
it seems like a lot of what you can find about her is seems to be, very suspect, and
mhm.
a lot of it's probably very apocryphal, frankly.
Probably. I mean, there's the one, like, there's a lady apparently that was a victim of the pirates. I don't know what that means. Did they raid her ship, or I don't know. This is Dorothy Thomas left a description of Reed and Bonny. They wore men's jackets and long trousers and handkerchiefs tied around their heads, and each of them had a machete and a pistol in their hands, and they cursed and swore at the men to murder her. Dorothy
Oh,
Thomas.
that was stuff from the trial, I believe. Virginia was
Yeah.
someone that when they finally got Rickard, when they were ashore and
Hmm.
or cornered, and everybody was drunk except
Yeah.
the women, and they fought for a little while, and they took him away.
I just
This woman gave that testimony, so
it's just, this is a little tacked on at the end. Thomas also recorded that she knew they were women from the largeness of their breasts. Thanks.
Okay.
Sure.
We can always tell.
We can always tell. Ugh.
I made a dumb face there for those of you who are just listening.
I just
I
don't.
made a
I
high
don't.
rolling face.
I can't tell how much of it is like baked in whatever was going on with the social norms, or if that was.
and there was so
Yeah.
much going on. I mean, the whole privateering and issuing marks to like go giving some merchants basically permission to, like, privateers, you have permission to go take this other
Yeah,
ship and all their shit. And
Yeah,
then
the
they kind
privateers
of
were
started
funny.
piracy by mistake. Like, wait, why would we do this for you? But
Yeah, there. So the privateer thing is like, if you're an English privateer, you leave all the English ships alone and go mess with the Spanish or the French if we're mad at them.
Mm.
But if we're not mad at them, you can't mess with them. But let's hope that writ gets to you quickly, even though you're at sea. So it might take a couple months. So you might have accidentally done that when we're not mad at them, even though we were mad at them when you last. That's why a lot of them were like, "Screw this!
screw this.
Everybody's
skull and
fair game."
crossbones.
Right. Yeah.
Let's just
Like,
all drug
okay,
pirates, Roberts, this whole thing. And
Yeah.
like, I give up. Yeah, one of my husband's favorite books is Master and Commander, or the whole series of Master and Commander. And so if you've never seen that movie, it's really worth watching. As far as like nautical, that that kind of time period, naval stuff, and it's really interesting. Like, they went to great lengths to show what life was like on one of those ships. And but again, that was the British Navy.
Yeah.
So so we have records, we have captain's logs of those.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah.
The closest anybody can figure about when she may have died is there's one burial list of an Anne Bonny in December of 1733, but there's also speculation that she got out of prison and went to South Carolina and died in 1782, which is a really long gap of time.
Yeah.
33, 82. Not
Well, and
sure.
she actually had the child, right? Like, when she claimed to be pregnant, she actually gave birth in prison, right? Or did I read that wrong?
I think that was Mary Reed.
Oh,
Or
okay.
they think complications of that was why Mary Reed passed away. But there's no like there's no real knowledge or anything written about her child, about Anne Bonny's child, if she even was pregnant. Because back then it was just very easy for a woman to be like, I can't die, I'm pregnant.
Yeah, the debunker guy I found on YouTube did a lot of deep dive and found some actual records where it looks like he found that termination of I believe it was a son, records of that and the town they lived in. Not really anything would happen to him, but where she ended up, and that she did have a son, there was record. So really interesting. Actually, there's an article I just found in the bibliography for the YouTube, or for Wiki. A 22-year-old YouTuber may have solved Anne Bonny pirate mystery 300 years after trial. And that's a Post and Courier record, so I'm also going to put that in our notes, because that's cool.
And then the amount of times that we have so little to go off of in actual historical record, but the amount of times that she's been portrayed in pop culture is just hilarious. And it seems like that's a thing. Like, the less you know about a historical figure, the more is there for fantasy to kind of take over, and just like you put character into that. It's the same thing that happened with Vlad Tepes, like Vlad the Impaler. Like, we know some things, and we know more about him than we do about Anne Bonny. But like, there's been just a whole bunch of just story and myth that's been put into that particular historical figure.
Okay, here I found the article I'm posting from the Post and Courier. This is the same documents that were mentioned in the video that I talked about that I watched, because he found a ledger for deaths in St. Catherine's Parish in Jamaica. In the second column, Anne Bonny, buried December 29th, 1733. So it was like the first real actual document that she died there, instead of all these other adventures she had in the imaginations of writers.
In the imaginations of Captain Johnson.
And it's like the same town where Mary Read was buried.
Okay.
So
I mean, I can
same
see.
place as the trial. Yeah.
I could see that being in Occam's Razor.
Yeah.
Right.
The same town, same place. The only difference was that, like, no E at the end of Anne, and people had been taking that. The General History of Pirates book from 1724 was the one I talked about before, that was just like, everyone took that as like, because it was all they had for all those stories for the longest time, and so much of it turned out to be crap. And a lot of the stuff we know is the Pirate Queen story of the two of them is from that.
What I find the most hilarious is this writer at least knew his audience, because Mary Read and Anne Bonny got top billing because he knew Lady Pirates would get people to buy the book.
Yep.
Yeah.
All those other pirates, that was so many of them, but Lady Pirates.
Lady Pirates. And he got to mention, like, you know, some of the famous, like, Rackham and stuff that people did know.
Yeah.
Marketing of its time.
God.
And his book title wasn't quite as long as that other one.
God.
Yeah, that's crazy how long that. But I mean, I think a lot of books did that back then. They had, like,
I'm gonna look it up really quick. Yeah, there it is. So, you know, it's about, 1693. So a little further back, Cotton Mather wrote a book about the Salem witch trials, right? The Wonders of the Invisible World, being an account of the trials of several witches lastly executed in New England, and of several remarkable curiosities there occurring.
Yeah, I mean,
have y'all ever seen like that kind of printing press? Why would you do that to yourself?
Yeah, well, and I mean, like, on the cover of a book, like, they had to emboss that, and like, that was a lot of work.
There's a lot of words.
You'd think that the
Oh, man.
physicality would have driven him to be more succinct.
Yeah, you would think. You would think, right?
Oh, you bitch. I didn't even know that. Captain Charles Johnson, who wrote the History of the Pirates, is a pseudonym. They don't know who the author is. It's an unknown author who used the name Captain Charles Johnson.
Yeah.
Okay, so whole episode, your mileage may vary about what you find out about Anne Bonny.
I think the moral of this episode is don't trust everything you read from the 1700s.
Yeah.
Especially about women who,
Especially
weren't allowed
about
to,
women.
like, read
Oh,
or write
for
or buy
sure.
books.
Yeah, and I mean, so I don't know, I actually find that interesting that it was written by someone with a pseudonym, because that maybe suggests it might have been possibly
A pirate.
it possibly might have been written by a pirate or by a woman.
Yeah.
Because they know, they're not going to get published under their own name, and so they assume a man's name and then it'll get published. But but again, like, that's just supposition. We have no idea. There's no way to know.
Oh my god, I just looked up Mary Read. This is how you know that a lot of the early life stuff is made up. Mary Read, also born out of wedlock, also had to be disguised as a son, going under the name Mark, dressed as a boy.
Okay, so they just made all this up. Like,
just made it up. It's all made up, and the points don't matter.
right. Yeah, like I think maybe it's possible that bits of that are true for each of the women, but we, like, you know what I mean? And they
you couldn't have given them different you couldn't have given them different backstories. Come on now.
Right.
Okay, so
Right.
I will, to sum up, steal something from the end of this Post and Courier article. It's a really interesting quote from the person who did this debunk file that I watched and said, do we really want to do this show? It's all a lie. But ironically, he said the pirate show Black Sails has an excellent quote about this. It comes in a scene where the character Reed asks Calico Jack whether a story about Long John Silver is true. Jack's response is written in the show by the show's scriptwriters. As time extends, it matters less and less. The stories we want to believe, those are the ones that survive.
There you go.
Yeah,
Exactly.
fair. I'd say that's fair. So, all right, everybody. Remember, you can chime in by emailing us at geekgirls@gmail.com, or you can tweet us at geekgirls. Let us know if you think any of that story is true about Anne Bonny. I mean, we know that she got tried as a pirate. That is the record that we have.
Right. Yeah, that's really
that's what we got.
Yeah.
So what are y'all most anticipating coming up? Ember?
Tomorrow is my niece Ella's birthday. I'll probably get this episode out tomorrow, so then it'll be today. But I'm looking forward to that. I am getting her another subscription to Universal Yums, which she and my sister have. It turned out to be like the perfect present, and now it's going to be like the thing I do all the time. They actually read all the little pamphlets. If none of you have ever gotten Universal Yums, you get snacks from like different parts of the world, but you also get little like recipes and information about that culture and stuff, and they love it. So I'm really excited to get that for her again and be able to hear from them more often as they open packages.
I'm writing this down because that's fantastic. I'm always looking for cool like gift ideas for people, and
with some of their tiers, they just added like some kind of like toys from the region that you can play with. But yeah, I had no idea. I was just like, I'll send them weird snacks. It'll be fun. And then they called me, and my sister's like, and my sister is somebody who, I mean, she's anti-reading. I mean, she's never read anything. She wasn't assigned, hates it. And she was like, I actually read the whole booklet. Like, and it was so. And they had that time together. So yeah, unboxing is the way for even not nerds.
It hurts my heart a little bit, like that somebody's like really like I get it. Some people, you know, it's like, oh, it's a chore, it's an assignment, it's
Yeah.
a thing I associate with mean teachers in school and stuff like that. I get it, but oh, I love books. I love reading,
Yeah,
and
not
so
everyone loves books.
I'm sad for people who don't have that
But-
escape.
Yeah,
But
she got
I'm
this.
glad for them that they have you and have, you know, universal yums, which I've now written down, which is awesome. That's
It's
so cool.
nifty, and I can send you a referral, and it
Oh,
gives
yeah.
you like $5. I think me $5 or something.
And then you'll get a kickback too. That's awesome.
sure.
Yeah.
Share it. I mean, it's great. I love it. I have found stuff there. My sister told me about, and found it on Amazon. And ordered it myself, like these gingerbread sticks dipped in chocolate, which you would think are really weird, but they're amazing. And I got a box, and I like started taking them everywhere I go and sharing with everybody. So you
Cool.
never know. It's like having Zoe show up, right, from UK with weird shit.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Oh, that snack table.
right.
So good.
Um,
I love UK chocolates and sweets. It's yummy.
I'm waiting on Anna, my friend Lori's daughter, and I mean Anna's my friend too. She's about to have a baby like any time. Oh my gosh, like Saturday night. She was. Lori couldn't come to the fire because any time now. So waiting anxiously, and now that I have my computer back, I'm probably going to record an audition for Everly Heights. It's a new Bill Meeks project that I have the slides for. So, see.
Cool.
So, what are you most anticipating coming up, Amy?
Well, tomorrow I'm actually starting a new puppet building class, and I'm really excited about that. And I have all the supplies over in the corner. It was, again, through the Center for Puppetry Arts, their distance learning program. They're doing a weekly Zoom class, and it starts tomorrow. So I'm really excited about that. Also, my 10th anniversary is this week on Thursday.
Yay!
I got a bonus at work that I was completely not expecting. So I decided to take half of that and buy us a pottery wheel.
Ooh.
Our
Nice.
anniversary. And if you've ever wanted to see like a grown ass man be giddy like a little kid on Christmas morning, go to my TikTok and you'll see Chuck just it's the most adorable thing ever.
Oh, that makes me so happy.
So yeah, I'm really excited about that.
Awesome. I've got MomoCon coming up at the end of May. So like I said, I'm doing all the crocheting. I'm hopeful that I can get, like I said, at least one of every evolution done. I've got what, 2.5, 3 weeks? Blah blah blah. Blah. But we'll see. I may end up just doing a bunch of smaller things like baby dragons and octopuses. Octopuses are very fast. I can do those in about 2 hours if I dawdle. So it might be more worth my time just to make a bunch of those because those sell really well. Everybody comes up and it's just like yee and like springing the little little legs. And I forgot I have a LARP coming up this weekend. Oh, good. Yep, that's good. I reminded myself. Hooray! I've got gardens coming up this weekend, so I have to pack for that.
Oh my goodness.
It's fine. Everything's fine forever.
It's only Monday.
Fine.
You're good.
Fine. Oh, and I remembered there's one more book by Ruth Goodman that I'm going to try and find. I tried to find it this past week, but it's How to Behave Badly in Elizabethan England.
Oh.
So
I've heard of that book, but never read it. So
I want to get it. I want to see. I want it. But I couldn't find it at the store that they said it was at. But the lady was super nice. She was like going around the whole like world history section with me, like going through each book looking for it. So I was like, I bought something anyway, even though it wasn't the book I wanted. I was just like, I'm gonna buy this instead because you were very nice and spent a lot of time trying to help me.
Me on free comic book day, buying a $50 book.
So that's what's coming up for me.
Okay, cool.
Are all of my things clean? I don't know. Might have to do laundry. Cool. All right.
Well, remember, folks, you can always come watch us record live at twitch.tv/geekgrills on most Monday evenings. Our next one will be May 15th at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. We're going to be doing a little bit of retrospective on the last 7 years and considering our futures. We have plans, not solid plans, stuff happening right now. But I also want to give you a heads up because at the end of the month on the 29th, we're going to have our book club episode. So you still have time to read The Parable of the Sower by Octavia E. Butler. You can check that out. There's a Kindle edition for $11.99. You can find it in your local library. And we look forward to talking about it, the three of us, and then hopefully with you. If you have anything to add, please email us or tweet us. And I believe that will be Amy's first, main host as our new co-host.
Yeah, we'll give that a shot and see how that goes. That'll be fun.
It'd be so great.
So, in addition to the subs and bits we get on Twitch, we're supported by our amazing patrons, the greatest grill friends on the internet. You can become a patron at patreon.com/grills. And don't forget, if you have Amazon Prime, you can sub to us for free every month on Twitch.
And another way to show your support is by leaving us a review. You can do so on any of your podcast catchers. You can check out what topics we're going to do in the next month on our schedule below on our Twitch page. If you're a patron, you can suggest a topic for us. We will do it, and we would love to hear your ideas. So where can we find you on the interwebs?
Easiest thing with me is just go to 9of12.com. That's NINEOF12.com. It'll point you to my projects.
Cool. So for me, I'm Red Fraggle 3 just about everywhere. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Also, if you want to check out my side business, peeperspuppets.com, please feel free to do that.
And you can find me on Instagram under the name madcap_misc. That's MISC. You can check out my website at madcapm.com. Thanks for listening, everyone. Good game.
GG.
GG.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
We've got our little Diamond Club gang sign.
Hooray.
So is that okay to do?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
I just jumped in. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
I'll sit. September asked me, and I was like, yeah, sure, I'll sit.
I was
hang
so
out for
afraid
an
to
hour
ask
on my
you.
phone.
We both thought
Yeah.
of you right away. Rob was like, what about Amy? I'm like, I don't know. She would say no. And I was like, well, fuck it. I mean, all you can do is say no, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Like, that would have been the worst thing that I could have done. But, like, I should have told the story about Rob and the zip line. That would have been great. Because, God, that was so much fun. I'm assuming you heard that story, Linda.
Yes.
Oh, my God. That was so good. He's like, I need an emotional support, Fraggle.
It's the best.
But super proud of him. He braved it. He did it.
Say,
Meanwhile, I was like, wee! Yes! Please suspend me from Fremont Street. And